Okay. Interview. Ska du surprise me?
Jag vet inte helt hvordan jeg skal starte.
Jeg starte.
Det er gøy å si hva du driver med akkurat nå.
Nei.
Hæ?
Ja.
Jeg vet ikke hvis...
Ja. Snakker engelsk. Speak up!
What are you doing now?
What I'm doing now?
Yeah.
I am sketching a rose. Making a figurative painting from a photo. And right now I'm painting a rose. Tell where you got the questions from.
ChatGPT. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's funny. Actually funny.
Start with the first question that ChatGPT wanted me to. Okay, can you describe your artistic journey and how you developed an interest in figurative painting?
Oh, yeah, that's a long story. I've been telling it before, but I was a welder in Haugesund Mekaniske Verksted, as it was called back then. And I had some problem with the smoke, with some asthma stuff. And there was some laid off, or not laid off, but permission because there wasn't so much work, and I was just sitting in cafes and training and doing stuff. And I had a girlfriend called Heidi, which got kind of quite sick of me not doing much, and she threw some paper and stuff to me. Get yourself a hobby. And I took up the pen and I started to draw, and I kind of felt peace immediately when I started doing that, because I have quite severe ADHD, and it kind of dampened restlessness. And in the end I got this thing from the union that I could change my occupation, and they paid for the schooling, so I chose to go in. I was thinking about becoming a commercial drawer, or kind of designer, or whatever they call it then. And then I went into a drawing school, and there I met a woman called Sissel Kobberstad, which was a teacher in painting, and she made me fall in love with color, actually, the color circle, and Goethe's color circle. And I just started painting, and it was even a bigger love than the drawing. I drew it like a 10-year-old. There's actually a video on YouTube where I show my first things, and so nobody could have thought. That is why I think talent is actually just bullshit. If you have the constitution for hard work, you can actually do basically anything. And if I like something, I tend to work hard on it. So I worked a lot, and I evolved some skills quite fast, actually. And I kind of developed. I had no skills, but I had no introspection, so I didn't see how bad it was, and it was really bad. So when I finally got some skills and I woke up from this kind of delusion, I thought I was good, of course, but I woke up from this delusion, really. And luckily I had got some skill then, and when I started actually struggle, I had managed to get over that first hurdle in a way. And then I just kept on, went to art school, where I basically learned nothing except from hearing a lot of teachers tell me that I should be a modernist and do conceptual art, because that was very in back then. But I have already decided to become a figurative artist, and that's what I did. And then I just worked and taught myself to paint. And or you learn from history and stuff like that. So that is, and then I just came into a couple of important exhibitions, and kind of go to galleries, start selling my paintings. So here I am, 30 years later, still struggling with the same things and trying to do my best. So yeah. What about? Next question.
What themes or concepts inspire your work, and how do you approach conveying them through your paintings?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I'm actually inspired mostly by the painting process itself. Of course, as you can see, I like to paint pretty objects like girls and or I like to paint interesting or beautiful things, but I also have painted some political stuff, and I'm gonna do that. But the inspiration itself to paint actually comes from the paint itself. It isn't about painting this girl or painting the apples or the still lifes or the craniums. It's actually about kind of the painting process itself, and the texture and the brushwork, and actually getting it right, the struggle or the chase to kind of learn and kind of get better. That is the main driving force. So it's kind of meaningless actually, because there's no real, it's nothing, there's nothing I need to say. I'm not telling a story here, I'm just trying to paint a painting. But I have this project, and I actually started on it, on that Muhammad painting and the human condition painting that you've seen in there. So I will be inspired to do a large thing about the human condition. But still, it's always a paint. You could easily just write a book about that, but I wanna do both. And so the inspiration comes from actually overcoming my own skill wall and get better. And and the feeling of peace when I finally get started. So that is basically my main inspiration. If we're talking about inspiration in history, which artist I have been inspired of, it's basically the best classical painters and artists like Rembrandt, Vermeer, Leonardo da Vinci, and Turner. And the best are the best. So that's my. If I'm gonna have a objective standard to look to, that is basically what I would say inspire me, or the great things humans do. I mean, as we were talking about, I'm just gonna bring up what we were comparing it to, but the guy with the pig and Elon Musk, you know, the difference in human potential, you know, the extreme potential for basically self-destruction and doing absolutely nothing good with your life, and then you have these people, or people who exploit others, and then you have the person who managed to actually use his life to something beautiful, and it's weird. So also, if you do something that is a little bit difficult, it will actually challenge you to maybe become a better version of yourself. So I guess that might be one of the inspirations, you know, from porn to Elon Musk. It's sad how people waste their lives. There's one blip in existence and don't really understand how precious it is, actually. So, what was the question again?
You don't remember? I think you answered it. What themes or concepts inspire your work, and how do you approach conveying them through your paintings? I think you answered.
Yeah, I think I answered. It's actually about paint. It's the struggle. It's the chase. It's like hunting, actually. Basically, it's almost like hunting. Yeah, hunting. It's kind of hunting. You hunt for some result, or you hunt for something better, or hunt. So yeah, it could be. Yeah. Okay. Lovely.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, because you talked about talent.
Yeah.
I was reading a book on classical drawing. And there was a quote from a painter, and he said, talent is just another word for loving something.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I would say so. Because if you don't love something, you can't possibly be good at it. Because if you hate something, you won't be able to evolve it. You know, you have to love something to evolve it. Or to be interested enough to become good at something. So I guess that is totally right. Yeah, it is a sort of love. Yeah, it's being in love. But it's not necessarily always that easy. But you know, I guess life isn't easy. We're all gonna die, so it's not gonna end well for anyone. So, and I also think it's a very to do creative work or do something that at least feels like it has meaning. It kind of removes some of the inherent meaningless of life. You know, as an atheist and as a person who don't believe in an afterlife, it's very easy to fall into the thing that what's the point? And you know, the answer, as we have been talking about many times, is like there is no real inherent point. The way I see it, I can't see that in existence or the universe that there is any trace of any inherent meaning. There is, of course, I think there is in the laws of nature, there is a mechanism that will bring intelligence or life into being. And you can ask why? Why is it so? That's a very good question, you know. But I don't think there is an answer to that why. So the why question is just a silly question, as Richard Dawkins did so correctly say. That why? When children ask why, in the end you just have to shut up and go to bed, okay? Because you can't answer everything, you know, because it's outside our reach to answer these questions, and to answer them with a lot of weird beliefs just because it feels good doesn't really solve anything. I think it actually gives you just more problems. Living a considered life, like Socrates did say, the unconsidered life is not worth living. And if you choose to live in a delusion, you're not actually there. You're not actually living. So, yeah. I always seems to forget what the question was, but Anyway, har du flera?
Yeah, about talent. It's just
Yeah,
another word for love.
Yeah.
Because that's what make you skillful. If you do something.
Yeah, I think I have a talent for passion, or talent for working. That I think I have. Some people might have a talent for more depth or more endurance or more. And actually, we were talking about this with the fingers and testosterone. I have a typical high testosterone, and that leads to more problem solving and creativity and more hunting genes in a way. So I think it probably also has something to do with genes. But then again, a person who are lower in testosterone doesn't have that necessarily that warrior gene. He would be a very good administrator. Okay. Not necessarily a good soldier, but then a better administrator, because I suck when it comes to that, you know. So I think talent is more this thing, as you say, it's more that you actually love something and you have that drive towards getting better. It's like a relationship also, you have to have a drive towards it to make it better. You can't just make things better if you don't have a drive towards it. Okay, so yeah, I think it's
I think everyone can become good at painting if they love it.
I think everybody can learn to paint if they love it. People come to me, oh, I haven't got talent for this talent. You know, yes you do. You just haven't evolved it yet. It's like you don't tell a person that he has a talent for running the 100 meters if he hasn't done it before. You don't tell a person that he has a talent for, or that oh, I see you have a talent for playing the piano, but he has never played the piano before. So talent is a word we use when a person have done all that dirty work, you know, all the hours to manage to do something a little bit better than other people. And that is when we use the word talent on people. But you can't know who it is or who has that talent, or it's almost like a Übermensch thinking that some people have more talent than others. And I think that kind of stinks a little bit. I would say that every human being has the capability of being creative or being talented at something if they do the work. But then again, when it comes to sports and stuff like that, it might be also down to more genetics and maybe having a higher testosterone or higher drive might help in anything. But it's the same thing that make people get into trouble. People with a higher drive also fill up the prisons because they kind of have a drive. If the drive takes a negative U-turn, they also drive themselves into the ground more easily than other people because they don't have a stop system. I'm a perfect example of that shit, you know. It's like, you know, you keep just doing the wrong things. And I think being a little bit manic might help. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Does it make sense? Mm-hmm. So, there's quite a lot of good artists in the world. I don't consider me being that good anyway. So it's just I'm just trying to do my best. So I know about many artists that are way better than me. So also in history and still living and stuff. Technically. So I think it's also very important to keep your feet on the ground and not kind of being. I mean, I think there's a lot of covert narcissism in both covert and overt narcissism in the arts, and a lot of artists fall into this trap of believing in their own myth. They actually want to believe in this myth about they being talented, they being different. I'm different because I taught myself to do this. And modern artists are pretentious, very often pretentious, and they do not have any humility when it comes to art history and an extreme amount of beautiful objects and difficult objects. And even they don't have any humility when it comes to science, actually, because science is the greatest art form. If you look at Elon Musk and stuff, I mean, this guy is just amazing, okay? He's like a modern Leonardo da Vinci. Basically, there's nothing he touches that don't. His driving force is basically the same that drove Leonardo da Vinci to do all kinds of stuff, research and drawing and painting and inventing stuff, you know. So there are certain people who are probably born, and he also has, Elon Musk also probably has some Asperger's syndrome or some hypomania, and that could probably also lead to more hyper focus. He also had a bad childhood, so all these things together might also be a driving force. I was bullied a little bit I don't know how much it was, but I felt that I didn't fit in, a big part of my childhood, and it led to some scars that led to some bad self-esteem. So that might have led to me always trying to do better. But it could have had the opposite effect, that I would have become a total narcissist that believed everything I did was great. So it can actually fall. But then you won't evolve, because you need to be intellectual and emotional, logged on, honest, to be self-critical enough to evolve as a person and as an artist or scientist or whatever. If you're not honest, things will stop. If you become complacent, then you just stop. If you start believing in your own myth. If I listened to everybody who told me how great I am as an artist, which I'm not, when I look at my objective standard, I would have stopped evolving a long time ago, because I would have started believing that I was good enough. That would be a catastrophe. That would remove the drive, much of the drive. So, yeah. So having this doubt and a drive to become better, even if it comes from some neurosis triggered by childhood or genomes or whatever, it's healthy. People who start believing in their own myth won't evolve much. So, yes, next question. Stora Flava.
Yeah. What are your ambitions with your art?
Oh, my ambitions.
Yeah, like, is there something you want to make, or a skill level you want to reach, or?
Yeah, when it comes to skill, I want to become as good as I can within the time I have left in existence. So that is basically up to a lot of stuff. It's up to genetics, it's up to how much I work, it's up to my focus, which is always a problem. And I have lost so much time and so much. And then I have ambitions about that one exhibition or one series of painting. That is the human condition, and that's also going to be a book. That is one ambition. And I have ambition of doing one called Just the Art of Painting, and I want to write a couple of books about and stuff. And that is when I have done that, then the rest will be just flowing and do more and get better. But if I died today and I hadn't finished that thing that I've been planning for years, I would have felt I was a failure. I failed myself. I didn't use the time properly. I didn't. I don't have any ambition about fame and stuff like that. That has never been. Or money. Money is great. Money is really important. But I'm lousy, as I always said. I'm very good at using, but not good at saving or earning. So. And when I earn a lot, I use too much. So because of my, of course, ADHD, hypomania and stuff like that. So I screwed up a lot, actually. It's quite funny. But my main ambition is getting better and doing these few projects, writing a memoir, and yeah. So that is that. If I have a concrete ambition, it is the human condition. That's concrete thing that I would like to see done before I go into the to oblivion. So, except from that, it's just yeah. And I have one more ambition. I would like some fucking peace of mind before I die. That would be great. Some peace of mind. That would be that's yeah. That's
what do you mean with that?
No, that I didn't feel like I was. I always feel like I chase something, you know. I always feel, but that I think it comes down to me wasting too much time and me not being focused enough, because I always feel this drive or this chase or this is almost like an anxiety. It's almost like running after myself all the time and trying to catch up with myself. It's almost like the movie Catch Me If You Can, you know. Every time you feel like you have got some, manage to grab yourself, you just slip away and you start losing time again, and then I can see my life is just kind of not becoming what I would like it to be. But only way to get life to become what you want it to be is doing the right things. So it's so hard. So if I had an ambition, it was to finally find some peace and calm the fuck down. You know, calm down. Just work. Just be. Just have a good rhythm, you know. Less stress. That would be nice. That would be a nice ambition. Some peace of mind, yeah. Some calm, some not being happy, but not being being in that zone flow. So it's not like this, okay? I was way worse before. so it's getting slowly better. But then I start to think that maybe is there enough time and existence for me to find this peace too? And then again, doesn't really matter, because when I'm dead I won't know anyway. So it's just, yeah. I would like to feel peace. When I go, if I had one ambition, is when I go, I would like to know that I at least managed to use this blip of existence to something constructive, that I don't regret too much. That would be an ambition. Being a good person is a very good ambition. It's hard enough, you know. Doing the right thing is an ambition. Becoming a better painter is of course an ambition. But it's not that I'm gonna save the world or anything, save the bees, save the trees, you know. It's not about that. I'm not trying to. And things I want to say in the human condition is just the contrast in the human nature, and the tragedy of the fact that most of us are wasting, including me, waste way too much time and stuff like that. Yeah. So, well, the contrast from the psychopath to the kindest and the most thoughtful human being. From Putin or Hitler to Carl Sagan, which said that we are a way for the universe to know itself, which of course is true, because without us it would be like the universe would be like a headless body, or a brainless body, a body who didn't know he existed. But through us, through evolution, through chemistry and time, the universe have become conscious through us. And yeah. So if there were an ambition, I think it would be trying to use this thing in a good way. Yeah. I think that would be an ambition. How tragic it is that they had interviewed a lot of old people in homes and stuff like that, and it was the same thing that they said over and over again. They have asked what they regretted, and was always all the things they didn't do, the love they didn't follow, the hobby they didn't do anything about, the things they want to travel, the things they want to see, and boom, you're old and you're dying. It's like Seneca says in the essay The Shortness of Life, or the Shortness of Life, about the people in Rome, how they were stingy with their money, but with their time they threw it away like they had this eternal soul. Yeah, I don't know where I let off. Vad var det jag sa?
You don't.
It stopped.
You want to feel that you did your best when you die, and you.
Yeah.
Don't forget that you didn't take any chance, or.
Yeah, it was stingy about money. I think it was Seneca was talking about how they were stingy about money, but not the time. And when they become old, they were screaming, "I haven't lived," because they ignored the fact that time goes too fast. So yeah. So the ambition is just basically to live best I can, do the most I can, despite this being quite pointless in an objective sense. So it's a weird situation. Being alive is basically a very weird, and we have been talking about that a lot, this weird thing of existing. It would almost be better if we didn't. I wasn't bothered with this before I was born, was I? Now you have to have ambitions, and you have to have some meaning, or you just feel depressed all the time. So yeah, and there's no really any goal. Whatever I do, there's no silver lining, except from trying to not live in pain all the time, and having these positive distractions that makes life seem meaningful. It's almost like we have to add in meaning ourselves. That's a cliche, but it's true. You have to add meaning to your own life. You have to add some distractions that leads to a sense of meaningfulness, things that actually fools you to believe that there is meaning. So you don't always think about there not everything being meaningless. It's like, how would that be? You go to heaven and you have to praise God forever? How does that sound? It sounds like hell to me, And so...
But let's say if, for example, being religious stops you from killing yourself. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, but you kind of, if you don't live in truth, you're not living the considered life, like Socrates did say. When he was actually offered the chance to move from the city and keep his life. But he said, when he was condemned to death, and there is this very good speech written down that he held in the court, and he chose suicide because running away would not to be living. That would be a cop-out. Okay? So he chose death. And this guy didn't really believe in an afterlife, right? That was what he was judged, because he was bringing the youth away from Zeus or the gods. He was an atheist, and he was actually basically condemned to death for it in Rome. So he made the youth critical. But he could have chosen to move, to leave the city. And that is basically, if you're gonna live a lie, you're not really alive anyway. And that is even worse, because you're not really, if you're very religious, you're not living in truth. You are living in a delusion, so you're not actually living. You can't have deep introspection and deep honesty on the emotional and intellectual level if you are religious, because there's too many things you basically have to lie about to yourself. You have to lie about the nature of the universe. You have to lie about everything. You have to lie about biology. You have to lie about where consciousness comes from. You have to lie about having a soul. You have to lie about heaven. You have to lie about everything. So how can you be a real conscious human being if you keep lying about everything? And you don't even know that you're lying. And that's the worst part. You don't even bloody well know that you're lying. Some of them, but you can see the religious, as Christopher Hitchens did say, the problem with the religious, was if they were pleased with believing it themselves, it would be okay. It wouldn't have mattered that much. But they can't do that because they have to make you believe it too. Because if not, they have to doubt that what they believe in is true. So they try to force it on other people, force on children, force on, the infidel and the mushrikun and the infidel, both in Christianity and everything. You basically have to lie about everything. And what's even worse is when people say they are religious, but they are religious on a personal level. So they are not even believing in the religions that they say they believe in. They are taking the stance that, no, I'm going to create my own religion because then I can do whatever I want and I can pray to God anyway when I'm in trouble and believe that He's actually listening. Which of course He don't, because the heavens are empty. There is no gods. There's nobody listening. And that is exactly how the world looks. So yeah, if it kind of soothes the pain, is it a good thing? Yeah. You can say I've seen a couple of interviews of people who were really bad people, who turned to Christ and turned away from the bad things that they did. So there might be a silver lining there, that some people are so bad that they basically need the threat of hell to become better. But when I hear interview of people who have been criminals or done bad things, usually they had a doubt in them from before. They had some problems. They didn't really like themselves. They were in a journey away from it anyway. So we can say, well, would it be better if they did it without religion? Yes. Absolutely. Would they do it without religion? Good question. But the sum of religion is when you have a collective, when billions of people don't believe in, it's difficult to say, you don't actually believe in reality. Because reality is not, don't know about reality and don't want to be part of reality. Of course, it becomes a problem. So you can't say, well, religion is good because it makes a few people better. Because all over it makes the world a worse place to live. Because if everybody was realist and intellectual and emotionally honest, they would be automatically better people, because conscience or having a conscience, seeing other people as equally important as yourself, demands, I think it demands honesty and realistic thinking. So yeah. So no, I don't think it's a good thing, because you can choose between reality or delusion, and the good things are good no matter if you believe in an afterlife or not. A sunset is beautiful even if you know. You don't have to add God into the sunset, into nature, to think that nature is beautiful. And you can derive a lot of pleasure just from being, if you appreciate basically just being. So, okay, I've become a long answer there, but I don't think it's a good thing that people live in. I rather wanna, when it's my turn, I hope that it doesn't happen in an accident or something like that, but that I could actually experience leaving. The angst or the sadness or the grief over knowing that life is over, and then being able to live, be in the moment as you basically draw your last breath. That is a thing I would like. Being snuffed out by a car accident or something. Of course, when you're dead, it doesn't matter. You won't know that it's not that you're going to miss anything because you're not going to be there. But being alive and thinking about being cheated. I didn't ask to be born. I wasn't there when I was born. I didn't have consciousness. I can't remember it. So I was kind of born into existence in the unconscious. But I would like to live in the conscious. Feel that last gasp, knowing that is going through the end. But then again, I remember Christopher Hitchens did say that he wanted to live or die lucid. But when he got esophageal cancer, he said, well, drowning or suffocating with esophageal cancer, you're suffocating, basically, you can't breathe. It's not a way to go, so maybe a good dose of morphine might be a good idea after all. But being snuffed out by an accident without getting a chance to reflect over life before you go, that would be a sad thing, I think. But then again, of course, it doesn't matter when it's done. When it's done, it's done. It's like you walk toward a guillotine and you piss yourself. But 5 minutes later, it's no problem. Okay. Just get it over with. Play the bit, Amalie? Lär du något?
Yeah.
Do you learn something? Do you learn anything?
Like a rose now, yeah.
So it look like a rose. That's just the basis, and then I start to go in and do you want to ask a little bit about texture and stuff? Or paint? No, I haven't talked about paint.
So I asked ChatGPT to make some questions about like philosophy and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's more interesting actually.
Yeah.
I mean, painting is just learning to mix colors, learning to use the tools. It's way more difficult to become try to be a truthful human being. That is way more difficult. Huh?
I think I learned more about painting by like looking at people doing it and also doing it myself. Because you can talk a lot about it, but
you have to do it. You have to do it.
And also just looking at your paintings.
That's me. When I started to understand texture, understand brushwork, because in the beginning I had no idea that painting was about brushwork. I thought painting was about the motif and the subject matter and stuff like that. But when you realize that it's about brushwork and the way you paint. That the aesthetics, that's all every time you touch it, every time you add something or extract something, that is where the poetry starts to appear. And then you start to see even classical paintings in a different way. I remember I was looking at The Sick Child by Edvard Munch when I was going to the drawing school. And I thought it was some shitty painting. I hated it because it was just full of dots with paint and stuff. I hated it. I want everything to be very glatt. What do you say in English? Glatt. Very without any brush. Smooth and penciled out and stuff. Because I didn't have the emotional depth or the empathy to understand or see the artist in the brushwork. As you evolve empathy and you evolve more deeper emotional capabilities, you start to see the painter. You start to see Edvard Munch in the brushwork. You start to see his battle with the motif. You start to see the love of paint. So, and yeah. And that is what makes these paintings so alive. But you have to be alive yourself to see it. And I would almost say that in the beginning, when I was in my 20s, I wasn't really... As a child, I was a very thoughtful child. But at some point, I turned off my emotions. And I almost can say, in many ways, I didn't really exist because the lack of introspection and really deep thinking was just not there. And then you are basically more like a zombie, you know. It seems like you are doing human things, but you are not really living up to the human potential. So, and then that is what started for me was actually understanding the difference between subjective belief and objective reality. Because if you, to bring it religion again, to believe, the religious believe that their emotions are objective truth. So if my emotions tells me that the world is 6,000 years old, the world must be 6,000 years old, because my emotions tell me that. And that was basically how I argued about religion back then. I wasn't deeply religious, but there has to be meaning, therefore there has to be an afterlife. And when I was argued with that the universe doesn't work like that, my argument was still there has to be afterlife because my life can't be meaningless. And that was basically my argument. And that is the argument of any religious person. And it's at best annoying and at worst actually dangerous, because as Christopher Hitchens say, the religious are usually not pleased until everybody else believe it too. So beliefs has consequences. And just because something is unpleasant to think about doesn't mean that it's false, you know. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Har du flere? Eller skal man stoppe nå?
You want to go further?
Hæ?
Yeah.
Jeg vet ikke hvor mye det er igjen på kortet.
Are there specific moments or experience in your life that have significantly shaped your perspective on life and the existence?
Oh yeah. Whew. Yeah.
Is it too?
Well, the struggles with depression, heartbreak, I've learned more from falling. I learned more from failing than from succeeding, if you know what I mean. So it is the worst times that has brought the greatest changes. So I wouldn't be without any, or even as you know, going to prison for this stupid weapons was a great experience, and it kind of was the last. Maybe it was actually the last education I needed to become really getting really in touch with myself and see the error of my ways and adjust. So, but it's been a lot of different things. I could say that the moment I understood, as I said, that my emotions isn't necessarily representative of objective reality. That was maybe the moment I understood that first principle was the moment that I started to reflect. It doesn't mean that you do everything right. It took many years. It doesn't mean that I do anything right now. But at least I know now. So was there a particular moment? Well, if I wasn't with Heidi, I wouldn't started drawing. If I didn't meet Sissel Kovostad, who was my teacher in color, I wouldn't have started painting probably. If it wasn't for Krzysztof Nasielowski, a Polish sculptor that I had as a teacher in art school, which actually showed me the difference between objective reality and subjective belief, and made me lose my belief in free will and stuff like that. I understood that we are a product of our upbringing and stuff like that, and we can't really trust our beliefs. If I didn't meet these people, I wouldn't have been able to evolve in the same way, because you have some people who comes with so good arguments that you can't really get away from truth anymore. So, but there's a lot of, so. Was there a moment? No, there was many moments. But some more important than other moments. But I would say falling. Meeting the wall in just 300 kilometers an hour, but slam into a wall. A wall you have built yourself, basically. And realizing that and not blaming other people, not blaming yourself. When you do that, when you start blaming yourself, then you are on the right track. Of course, if other people actually has done horrible things to you, you could actually see the cause come from there, but in the end you have to basically you have to take most of the blame yourself when things doesn't work out for you, usually, especially when you are living in the world's richest country, Norway, and you have everything and you still manage to screw up. I think being honest and not whining about it is a very, very good thing to do. Yeah, should we stop now? Should we stop now?
Maybe the potatoes already?
Huh?
Potatoes.
Yeah, the potatoes. Yeah, we have to, and the food. Yes. Yes. So, hade du flere spørsmål eller?
Jeg tror faktisk du svarte på resten av spørsmålene.
Ja.
Vi snakket mer.
Yeah. Because everything, all the questions about these things is actually about the same thing. Because there's no, you can't take one thing and say this is a different subject than this. Because in life, in existence, everything is intertwined. Everything that happens to you, everything, there's no difference between, yeah, it's all cause and effect, so everything is intertwined in a way. So, and as I say, life becomes as you walk through it. Yay! Okay, thank you. Here we are at the end of the video, and here we can see some of the textures and brushwork. It's not totally finished yet, but I will keep on banging on, and there will be a full tutorial out on my YouTube channel of this painting process. I will also thank Amalie Rusholt for coming up with the questions. He used actually AI, and that's kind of funny. If you want to support my channel, you can do that by giving a thumbs up, leave a comment, tell me what you think, or you can go to my Patreon and sign up and give away some of your money, and I'll actually teach you how to paint. Hope to see you there, and if not, I see you in my next video.